Zach here, and excited to welcome back Jeff Martin, the CEO of the National Independent Automobile Dealers Association. With NIADA's 2025 convention around the corner and major shifts happening in the used car industry, Jeff's here to share what dealers need to know today. Jeff, great having you back on the podcast today.
Absolutely, Zach. Thank you for having me. I certainly look forward to the conversation.
So, the 2025 NIDA convention is coming up fast. What are some new features or major changes attendees can expect this year?
Yeah, one of the biggest changes that we have this year at NIADA is we're doing dealer rounds, which are roundtables of 10 to 20 dealers um, talking about a specific topic that we've given that table to talk about. So, Zach, we always hear from our attendees how much value they get out of the networking with other dealers. And so when you put those dealer rounds together like that, it's kind of forced networking, but it gives you the ability as an attendee to say, I really want to go and I want to talk about lead generation. I want to talk about managing multiple locations. I want to talk about, identifying fraud or whatever it is that you're interested in. We've got 15 different topics. We'll have a moderator at each table. They're very, very quick. They're about 35 minutes apiece. You get an opportunity to go in, talk a little bit about what's going on at your dealership, hear from some other dealers. And then a lot of times those conversations carry on into the hallway and into the expo hall. But that's something that's very new for the NIADA convention and something that we're very excited to be introducing this year.
In any particular speakers or other educational tracks you'd like to highlight for dealers trying to navigate today's complex landscape?
Well, I mean, obviously, we spend a lot of time sourcing the speakers. We're excited about all the various speakers that we have. The one thing, Zach, that I think is interesting, and this won't come as a shock to you, but we had of all of the applications that we received this year, probably about 28% of them to 30% of them had something to do with AI. And
Hmm.
so we know it's extremely it's intriguing to a lot of our members, and it's not unique to the independent automobile space. I think everyone's trying to navigate and figure out how to use AI. So I think we have 7 different courses that are either being presented by dealers or by experts who are already using AI and talking about how they can use that AI in their dealership. So that's something that I'm excited about because it's something we've been hearing from the dealers. So I'm happy that we're able to deliver that. But I think what really makes me excited is that it's not only are you going to be hearing from experts, you're going to be hearing from dealers who are using AI in their dealership, and that's a big focus for us and for our convention. For years, we've really focused on making sure that we give dealers an opportunity to learn from other dealers.
Very cool. And the network events, they've always set NIDA apart. How are you thinking about engagement and dealer value in 2025?
Yeah, I mentioned the dealer rounds earlier. I mean that we hear that all the time, Zach. Is that man? How can we do more networking? Where are there more opportunities for that kind of thing? We have 3 general sessions on Tuesday this year, which is a little bit unique. We find that coming out of the general sessions, when you kind of force people to go sit in those rounds, listen to a presenter, it then just naturally forces you to start having conversations with people you might not normally have a conversation with. And so that was on purpose that we moved those general sessions up to the front as opposed to having the general sessions toward the back of the event. And so this will give this, I think it gives more value to the member because you start engaging sooner with the other attendees.
And what would you say, and there might be some listening to the podcast now, to an independent dealer on the fence about attending the convention this year?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest thing is 55 hours of education. You really can't go and find that much education. It's the largest independent automobile dealer program in the country. We'll have an expo of 170 vendors. I think just going or coming for the expo alone is pays for itself. If you get an opportunity to go in there and visit with the vendors who have products and services that are looking to kind of help you as an independent dealer, I think that you'll pay for your convention just going to the expo. But the 55 hours of education, it's unmatched, with any other any other convention for independent automobile dealers.
So let's move on to the current state of the used car market. And I wanted to get your thoughts, Jeff. Used car prices are historically high. What's driving that in 2025, and how are independent dealers adapting?
Yeah, well, I think it's what's always driven it, kind of supply and demand, right? And right now, the demand is fairly high. The consumer confidence is pretty high. There are a lot of consumers out there, but that wholesale market it remains very competitive, and so it's hard for an independent dealer to go out there and get that inventory. And then also, cost of goods are extremely expensive right now, Zach. I mean, we look at what our dealers were spending 5 years ago in service and in make ready, and it's almost doubled. For the amount that they're having to put into a vehicle to get it frontline ready. And so anyway, at the end of the day, it's supply and demand. That's the biggest challenge that we have. There's just not it's still not quite enough used car inventory out there for the demand that we have.
So, with ongoing tariff discussions, how concerned should independent dealers be, especially around sourcing and affordability?
Yeah, like as I was just mentioning. I mean, it could hamper the supply and demand a little bit. But I'll tell you what I talk to dealers about all the time is don't make sure that you're focusing on the things that you can control. And with the tariffs, man, we've certainly seen some tariff whiplash. I would hate to make a business decision based on something that I'm seeing in the news or something even that we're hearing coming out of the administration, and then a month later or 3 months later or 8 months later, they've backtracked in whatever that position is. And so I would say move forward, kind of cautiously, and not necessarily make a knee-jerk reaction based on the chatter that we kind of hear out there on tariffs.
So, EV vehicles, they continue to grow in the market. Are independent dealers embracing this shift, or is there still hesitation?
Yeah, I really think that's regional, Zach. I mean, I don't,
Hmm.
there's some very strong pushback kind of in the EV marketplace. And a lot of it does it depends on the region that you live in, the needs of your consumers. There are some areas where it's certainly embraced a little bit more. I think that depending on some of the decisions that we see that come out of the current administration, that might slow down some of the EV manufacturing. And if that ends up being the case, then we're going to get back to the same thing we talked about earlier with supply and demand. What I've seen more than anything in the EV market is it's embraced in the areas. If the consumer is embracing it, then the dealer is going to embrace it, right? If the consumer is not embracing it, then the dealer's not going to embrace it. So it really feels to me like it's very regional right now.
So let's move on to leadership, advocacy, and NIADA initiatives. So you've been in the role of CEO at NIADA for some time now. What's been your biggest focus in learning so far since taking this new position as CEO of NIDA?
Yeah, Zach, I think, gosh, we met, was it probably a year or 2 years ago, and we talked about some of the challenges that we had, and we talked about some of the opportunities. And one of the things that we really needed to do at NIADA was focus on like what's our primary responsibility, and then we talked about advocacy and education, and we were working to put ourselves in a position to kind of start building in particular areas. Just 3 weeks ago, we ended up hiring a government relations and compliance director in Patrick O'Brien. Very excited to have him on board. He has spent significant amount of time with the FTC and the Department of Treasury. As we look to work with the current administration and with the House and with the Senate and potentially rebuilding what the CFPB might look like, I don't think we could have a better person on staff than Patrick to kind of help guide the association through that process. And we've seen kind of a renewed energy with our members and getting involved in our legislative committees and finding ways to kind of be actively involved in the association, as I think a lot of our members have seen an opportunity in advocacy. And then along with that, Zach, is
Mhm.
education. Whether it's our 20 group programs or it's our certified master dealer program, or working with our state affiliates and introducing education at the state level that we can support and help with our moderators and our in-house education providers. And so, to me, it's recognizing what you do really good or what you should be doing good as an association. And again, for us, it's that advocacy, it's education, and then there's one kind of third part of that, and I'll share with you, Zach. On Wednesday, we're going to be making an announcement about a new hire here at NIADA that we're very excited about. That's really going to move us in the direction of collecting more data on the industry, analyzing that data, and then producing reports back out to our members that they can then use at their dealerships. And it's for in that particular area, it's about creating member value. And if we can find ways to help gather data, report that data back out to our members, and then allow them to use that in the way that they see fit, I think that we're doing our job as an association.
Definitely. And really exciting. And what are your biggest priorities now for the remainder of 2025? And how is NIDA planning to support dealers as we head into 2026?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I kind of mentioned a little bit of that, Zach. We have a new hire coming on Wednesday. I can't mention it quite yet because we haven't told all the appropriate people. But on Wednesday, we'll be making an announcement where we're really going to double down and focus on making sure that we're the place that people come to get information about the independent automobile industry. And I feel like that's a very important role that the association should be playing. And for years, NIADA did that. And I think it's an opportunity for us to get back into that position. So we'll spend a lot of 2025 planning that. Our first report is scheduled to be out in Q1 of 2026. And then also in the meantime, we've got a lot of opportunities with the FTC, the CFPB, in making sure that we're out there telling our story as an industry. And so that, the pendulum always swings in the legislative process. And right now, we're probably not going to see as much regulation at the federal level, but we've got to really make sure that we're supporting our state affiliates out there right now. Our state affiliates do a phenomenal job in representing their members, but we're about to see, I think, an explosion of potential enforcement at a lot of the state levels. And we've got to make sure that we're in a place to be able to support those states when they face kind of that, what we believe is going to be kind of an unprecedented amount of potentially unnecessary regulation at the state level. And so that's going to be kind of the part of 2025 and leading into 2026. We're really going to be focused in those two areas.
And how are you thinking about training and digital transformation for independent dealers over the next few years?
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, having like the having 7 different AI classes at our convention. I mean, we recognize that's a lot of the future. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it's not just our industry. Every industry is facing that. So we're relaunching our Certified Master Dealer program. There's a section in there where we talk a lot about technology and how you can use technology in your industry and how it will hopefully make you more efficient and more effective as an operator. And then I had mentioned earlier, we're doing the standalone education classes as well. And there will be an element of that will certainly incorporate technology. But some of this, Zach, is us learning along the way too. We've got to make sure that we're out there sourcing the experts and making sure that we're bringing those experts in and then making them available to the members of our association so that they can learn from that.
And my last round, and it's been excellent kind of talking with you today, Jeff, is rapid fire. So I have 3 questions for you, kind of a
Okay.
rapid fire round. So, first one, what's one underrated opportunity independent dealers should be focused on in 2025?
I hate to go back to education, but I really do think it's education. I would say 2 things. One, it's finding ways to educate yourself. The old adage, that if you're always working in your dealership, sometimes you got to go out and work on your dealership. I think this is a great opportunity to find those opportunities to go out and work on your dealership. And this probably feels like I'm supposed to say this because I run an association, but associations are member owned and member governed. Like, find ways to get involved in your association and make sure that it is working for you. Now, that can be anywhere from advocacy to the education that we talked about earlier to looking for products and services that benefit you as a member. But associations are only as successful as the members want to be engaged in that association. So I would say, and that's kind of an underrated opportunity for you as a dealer to find some opportunity or to find some ways to maybe be a little bit more effective within the industry.
And what book, podcast, or habit has shaped your leadership approach in the past year?
Wow, that is a great question. Well, I'll tell you, the remote environment has been very, very different for me. So some of my habits are very different now than they used to be. But for years, I've really been kind of a list guy, and I'm probably a little bit more adamant about my lists now. Used to I would kind of make the little list there and set it beside my computer before I'd leave work. I'd show back up that morning and I'd see that list staring at me. I love to, one of my habits is to, on Monday, kind of make a list, but now I do it on a whiteboard and come in and try to get that checked off. And the other habit that I have is I try to make sure that I can see all of the emails on one screen. I'm not always successful at doing that, but
Yeah,
before I go to bed at night, I feel like if I can see all of the emails, that I'm less prone to missing an email or less prone to being responsive in the way that we want to be responsive as an association, making sure that we're responsive to our members, making sure that we're responsive to each other. And so I don't always accomplish that one, but it's certainly a habit or a goal of mine, is to see if I can see the last email or if I can see all the emails on my screen. I feel like I've probably been pretty responsive that day.
totally agree. And last question, what excites you most about the future of the independent dealer community?
Wow, man, that is a broad question. Look, we're seeing a lot of mergers and acquisitions. You had talked about EV vehicles. I think vehicles in general are probably going to change. The consumer habit has changed. You look at what Carvana is doing, and even years back from what CarMax did with really teaching consumers how to shop online. And now consumers are applying for credit online. So I think that we're going to continue to see a lot of those changes in the industry. We're going to see some changes and some opportunities in what's going on legislatively and with rules and regulations. And I would say all that excites me. I mean, it's an exciting industry. I'm excited to be a part of it. But I mean, the thing that excites me the most are the people in this industry. I laugh all the time when I would say I don't have the guts to be in this industry. I wish that I had the guts to go to one of those wholesale auto auctions and just hold my hand up all day long and buy those cars. I'm not quite that. I don't take risk on quite that well. I'm a little bit more conservative, but I do get an opportunity to live vicariously through these guys and gals who are in this industry. And so the people in the industry are the part that excite me the most. But I think we're going to see a lot of changes in the next 10 years. And I couldn't be more excited to be a part of that, be a small part of that.
Same here. And Jeff, thanks again for taking the time to speak with me today. For those listening, make sure to check out NIADA.com/convention to register for the NIADA 2025 convention and expo at the Fontainebleau Hotel. I'm really excited and appreciate you coming on today, Jeff.
Thank you, Zach. Thanks for having me, and thanks for what you do in the industry, kind of giving us a platform to get the message out. Really appreciate that.